What's going on, everybody? John Eric Poli here with My MMA News, and today's guest is coming off a unanimous decision win at UFC Vegas 75, where he defeated Zac Pauga, joined today by Modestas Bukauskas. Nice to see you, man. Thanks for doing this. I really appreciate the time. I know you're a little jet-lagged. You're back over in the UK, so I appreciate you making the time for this.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me on, and really appreciate it, brother. Always good to speak to you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. You're always welcome here. Let's dive right into everything here. So for you, what a big win. That gives you 4 wins in a row, second UFC win in your second stint. How happy are you, man? It's really starting to come full circle for you, everything in the career here. I'm sure you got to be ecstatic.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm definitely happy that I managed to get the win. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. I definitely wish I had a bit of a better performance, in my honest opinion. I mean, there was a lot of things that I did good, but a lot of things that I didn't do so well. But the main thing is obviously I got the win, and yeah, 100%. The almost the fairy tale comeback still continues. The win streak still continues, and yeah, to get 2 wins straight in the UFC definitely puts me in a good position. And of course, I'm happy. I'm just continuing to work my way up the ranks.
And what would you say is like the big difference between this stint here in the UFC as opposed to the first go around when things obviously did not go as well?
Yeah, I'm more experienced. I'm a better skilled athlete. I got taken down against Pauga and got straight back up to my feet. Within a short space of time. My skill sets have definitely improved. My confidence in the cage has improved. There's a level of darkness to me that's sort of taken over a little bit more. So and I'm taking my time. I'm not rushing into anything. I'm making sure I do things the correct way. My training is always done appropriately, as well. I've become a lot more open-minded. There's so many things that I've learned since that first run that it's absolutely crazy, and it's great to see that all the fruits of my labor are finally starting to shine through. And long may it continue.
Well, I do want to actually flash back in time here. I'm sure it's probably to a moment you probably, don't like going back to, but that moment when, all right, it's after the first UFC stint, you come off that loss to Khalil Roundtree, your knee's all banged up, you need to get surgery on it, you're no longer in the UFC at this point. Kind of what's everything going through your mind at that moment in time, and just talk about everything that transpired since then, about first off the knee, the whole just physical side of it, but then the mental side as well, like resharpening everything and making this comeback journey that you're on now.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very tough thing to go through. I had a really bad knee injury before that Khalil fight. As a fighter, you always sort of think only about the good things that could potentially happen as opposed to the bad things. I did not expect my knee to get psychic like that in the fight. I thought I could at least get through that fight and then get it sorted out. It's I don't know, maybe you kind of did me a favor by smashing my knee to pieces, because then I got it sorted properly. You know what I mean? So yeah, after the fight and then obviously getting cut, it was probably one of the darkest times that I've had in my life. It made me realize that a lot of people don't actually give a shit about me. It makes you realize as well that people are very fickle as well, that they support you one minute and then leave you out there on the side of the road the next minute. I lost like literally 1,500 followers after that defeat, even whilst I was still trying to record YouTube videos to show my progress. So what it shows is people didn't really care. They only really care about winners. And and it just made me become a bit tougher in my mind. It made me become a bit darker in my mind, in terms of I'm still the same guy. Still, I like to be crazy, wacky. I like to be nice, kind, polite. All these things that are just generally within me that I just can't change out my character. But on the same side, it's a bit of blue and the red lightsaber. You know what I mean? The red lightsaber started coming through. I started adding that to my game because, like I said, this is the darkest time that really makes you see things a lot more clearly. And it made me sort of really try and open my eyes in terms of my game. Like, where am I going wrong here? Like, where do I need to improve? Where do I need to have a little bit better certain things? And then that's why I took a really long time off to recover and to sort of reinvigorate my game. And it's definitely shown through. And it's just a bit unfortunate. I do feel that, like, in my last fight, I could have done a hell of a lot more, but this is part of the fight game. The main thing is I got off certain shots I wanted to get off. I was able to land good shots as well, and it proves that I am ready for the guys at the highest level. So yeah, it's been a massive roller coaster, but I've learned a hell of a lot of things. I feel like I'm in a much better position mentally, physically. My body's definitely grown out a little bit more. I've become more of a man as opposed to a boy. So there's a lot of things, and I'm really grateful and thankful for that experience because I wouldn't be how good I am today if it wasn't for these experiences that I had in the past.
100%, man. You can tell definitely it's like a tale of two different cities there. The way how it looked beforehand, the way it looks now, completely different. A lot of changes there. Let's get into this fight now here a little bit. I know you mentioned a few times now, like you wish you could have did more in certain areas and everything. Let's start, I guess, here. I know there was some pushback, I guess, on Twitter, definitely a little bit on other social media platforms too, just about the scoring with it. Not to say that nobody's saying that you didn't win the fight. Some people had a problem with the 30-27. I just want to give you the opportunity, I guess, to address that. When I went and watched the fight back, I feel like sometimes when you watch fights, like you have that like immediate, like this raw, like emotion reaction things. But when you go back and
Yeah.
you rewatch things, sometimes it kind of slows back. And you're like, oh, maybe actually it wasn't as bad as what people made it out to be at first, you know?
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, I watched it back as well, and even then, even looking back on it then, like potentially some judges may have potentially gave it 30-27. Now, if you want to be a little bit more, I guess you could say a bit more fair, you would probably give it more 29-28. I think that'd be a fairer review of the whole fight itself. But definitely, I agree that all judges would have gave me that scorecard 29-28. I think 30-27 just realistically is the damage that I did with my shots in comparison to his. Yes, he may have landed certain shots. I tripped on the cage in the first round, which was very annoying. He did manage to get the takedown, but I got back up to my feet pretty swiftly. And then when you see the shots that are landing, I mean, I was rocking him pretty bad in that round. We landed very even strikes in the second. I did trip a little bit as well on a punch on the second round. And in the last round, definitely towards the end, I started landing the more, like I say, the more aggressive strikes, the more meaningful strikes. A massive body kick, spinning back kick, right hands to the face. So it's the more meaningful strikes that I landed that inevitably gave me the win. I feel like he did land shots and fair play to him, but there wasn't a shot that really like kind of would draw it in his direction, and definitely the first round. I mean, you watch it again, even with the takedown, I still feel like I had that round just because he didn't really do much with it. I was able to get him off the fence, and when I landed big. So don't get me wrong, he gave me a hell of a fight, and he's a hell of a tough guy. But definitely over the course of 3 rounds, there's nothing you can really say. If it was a split decision, maybe then you could say, oh well, it could have went. But when you look at the scorecards and unanimous decision, I mean, there's really no question that I won that fight.
And I know you just did a pretty great job of breaking down the whole entire fight, so I won't get too much into like this round by round specific stuff like I usually do with a lot of fighters post fight. But I do want to just go, I guess, back to that first round. You had mentioned slipping on the cage there. I know obviously on the broadcast, nobody knew what exactly happened, if it was a punch that knocked you down, what exactly it was. So it was a slip there. Obviously, he's on top of you then. So I guess first question, what was going through your mind in that moment in time when that happened? And then getting back up, obviously the second half of that round, you controlled it. I think that's where people are like, no, it can't be 30-27, but the second half of the round, you did control the round. You landed the heavier shots in that moment in time. So let's talk about coming back after that and winning the rest of the round.
Yeah, it was really annoying for me because tripping on the cage, it was like it was almost like, oh, for fuck's sake, like how the hell did I bloody trip on this cage? Because yeah, I mean, he went to land his punches, but none of those shots actually really connected with much force. And then as I was evading, my foot tripped on the cage, and it was just annoying. I was just pissed off. Is the best way to describe it. I managed to stay on my feet, but fair play to Zac. He did a very beautiful foot sweep and got me down, which again was also annoying because I'm like, oh my God, like I don't normally get taken down with these things. And usually he goes for single leg or double leg. So the fact that you use a trip on this one, it's a thing that I like to use in my game. So to get that done on me was a bit annoying. But then I knew when I was on my back, I'm like, okay, it's fine. I'm just going to work my way back up to my feet. I did throw up a triangle to try and push him off me a little bit, which helped me to get back up to the cage. Maybe people didn't see that, but I did throw up to try and get a triangle on him because I pushed one of his hands down. but then yeah, and then afterwards, once I got back up to my feet and got him off the cage, that's when I started landing, like I say, the really damaging shots where it had him wobbled. So yeah, it was annoying to trip on the cage, but I definitely recovered. And like I say, he didn't really do much. He didn't land any ground and pound. I landed an elbow on the bottom. I got back up to my feet, and then I did the damage. So it's like, what are you doing in terms of damage? I think you would definitely give that to me after all of that.
And another thing too about this matchup, I actually had interviewed Zac ahead of the fight, and I'm sure he made this clear. He definitely made it clear when I spoke to him. I'm sure he made it clear the whole lead up to the fight. Meaty Dad, I don't know how much you follow like along. I know a lot of fighters like to not pay attention to the outside stuff, but he was telling everybody he loves the Apex, and it's a smaller cage. He likes to grapple. He wanted to get his hands on you, kind of make it a dog fight there. Obviously, he wasn't able to do that. Just talk about that too, how you were able to, you knew what his game plan was, wanted to come in there and make sure he was not able to utilize that.
Yeah, so it actually changed his. I think it probably changed his game plan a little bit, which actually made him quite dangerous. Funny enough, in terms of blitzing striking style, which managed to catch me on a couple of occasions, as you can see, as it's shown by my face. But yeah, I knew that if he wanted, his game plan was to get me against the cage, and I'd been working with my coaches with Dad and Danny Batten, to basically get him off the cage and not allow him to strike me off the cage. I moved his head off to the other side so that he couldn't use his elbows, and then use like the underhook and stuff like that to basically keep me off of the cage. I didn't want to be on the cage for too long, and I knew that going into that fight, which is why as soon as I started initiating that game plan and keeping it out in the open, I knew that's where I could do my best work. The one thing that I would say is a bit annoying on my part is, why did I not throw more kicks? I've got a very good kicking game, and I didn't really utilize it as much. But in training, I was doing a lot of shoot boxing. So, maybe that's why I was kind of favoring using my hands a little bit more. But yeah, it neutralized his game, which made him change up his game plan a little bit. But then when it came to us going strike for strike, obviously that's my forte. And that's where I knew I'd win the fight.
All right, man. So we opened up talking about just kind of the journey getting to this point and the comeback. Obviously, now talking about the big win here. So now the big question: what's next for you?
Well, realistically, I'm going to get back into training. I might take like 1 or 2 more days, and especially just try and get over this bloody jet lag. Of course, I get back to regular eating as well. I've just been eating like a bit of a maniac for the last couple of days. But essentially, I'll get back into training, and just looking at the landscape of the light heavyweight division and people with matchups and stuff like this, and when there's potential cards and where I'd want to fight, I'll probably get another fight in at the end of the year, or maybe two potentially, but definitely 100% one more at the end of the year, and possibly somewhere in Europe. Yeah, bring another victory back home, and then yeah, really work towards that top 15 for next year.
Awesome, man. Thanks again for doing this. Appreciate the time. Congrats again on the win on this second UFC stint. It's been great to watch it so far. Just last thing before I head out for the day: social media, management, sponsorships, anything that you got to plug. Floor is yours.
All right, my man. Thank you once again for having me on, brother. Like I said, really good talking to you. Always a pleasure. Yeah, so at MODYB24 is for Instagram, Baltic Gladiator for Twitter and TikTok. Obviously, you've got to thank my dad, Danny Batten, BST Academy, Raymond and Lucas, Will Curry, obviously my training partner, Stephen, absolutely amazing filmographer. I mentioned him in my post-fight speech. Hell of a guy. Did a hell of an amazing job with all the stuff during fight week and everything leading up to it. Got to thank Prometheus Combat for the wrestling, Hodger Gracie's Academy, RES Fanmes, and Pure Jiu-Jitsu, Distinct Physiotherapy, Fighter Shop UK, and Iridium Sports Agency did a hell of a job. Like, literally took care of me from day one to the end. Like, literally, they did an absolutely amazing job. Did so many things for me that I can't even express. And also Paul Stain and the Coachellas, I've got to give a massive shout out to you guys for coming out to watch me fight at the Apex, which was absolutely amazing to have a hometown people come and watch you. And yeah, just everyone that's been close to me, that's all been helping me and helping me to improve and get better. Much love to everyone. We've got a massive, great support, and much love to you all.